Joy Bufalini is with us. She is in the house. So we are going to jump, just going to tell you again a little bit about Joy. She is the creator of the Simplify to Multiply method, helping women scale their business by simplifying their focus. In her 11 years as an entrepreneur, she's been featured in both O and Entrepreneur magazine as a leader in the business coaching industry. She's known for her warm but no-fluff approach to helping women do their soul work in the world. Even while raising her daughter with multiple disabilities, Joy has built a robust 7-figure business by keeping it simple and scalable focused. So please put your hands together and help me welcome Joy Bufalini to the stage. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Thank you so much, Wendy. So glad to be here.
I'm so glad that you are here with us. Thank you. Thank you for making it possible, for giving people, women, permission to simplify.
Yes, it's so important. And it was a life lesson before it was a business lesson.
Isn't that amazing? Can you say more about that?
Sure can. Well, I have twins that are now 22, but they were born extremely premature. And my daughter, Amber, in particular, suffered brain damage at birth. So life is going along as planned. You marry your high school sweetheart. You find out you're pregnant with twins. Oh my goodness, amazing. Life is so good. And oh, she might not make it. And oh, she's got severe damage to the brain from me having preeclampsia. And her twin brother, he's not near as, challenging, but, still some things to be concerned about. And life just, wait, motherhood? What? This is not going to be the journey I expected it to be.
Right.
Yeah. So it's really interesting to look at it at this perspective. Like, I feel like I've lived multiple lifetimes, when you've had kids anyway, just there's so many different stages, but when they're so different, it's so interesting. And to look back and say how there was a whole different timeline and trajectory, but this was the right one for all of us. This was the one that actually, I would say, my daughter Amber chose for us.
Can you say more about that?
Yeah, well, if you go back to when I was pregnant with twins, I'd grown up in very strict fundamental Baptist family. You do all the right things. You check the boxes. You don't speak out of turn. But when you have something like this happen and you have a traumatic event and you have all of these uncertainties, and when you've lived sort of more in the shame, guilt kind of paradigm, suddenly you either believe that and you go into like depression in a circumstance like this, or you question it. And Amber gave me the opportunity to question it. What do I believe about why I'm here? What do I believe about my self-worth? What do I believe about what my purpose is as a mom? Because when I think back to when I wanted to have kids and I was like doubly excited to have twins, I realized that I was actually looking to fill a void in my own heart.
Wow.
Yeah. And in retrospection, when I think about it, I had a great job teaching. I was in my 4th year of teaching. I loved it, happily married, but there was still a void. Still wasn't completely satisfied and happy. There was this low-lying unhappiness actually under there. And I thought having kids would fulfill that. Well, it did, but not in the way I expected.
So fascinating.
Yeah. Not in the way I expected.
No, and it tempers your heart in a certain way. Can you talk about that process and how you came to embody your influence through Amber?
Yes. So, well, she, because of all the circumstances that happened with her, of course, Mama Bear is going to rise to the occasion. Mama Bear is going to ask questions. Mama Bear is not going to say not going to let that doctor say what's not possible. Mama Bear is going to do her research. And so I started advocating for her. And in advocating for her and questioning authority for the first time in my life, I thereby was starting to advocate for myself and question things for myself, right? Which in another timeline, I don't see myself ever having done if something hadn't changed. So absolutely, like this journey of being a mom woke me up to, hello, why are you here? Why are you living such a boring, like mediocre life? But it was a process. It wasn't a one-time event. You know,
Yeah.
it was a process of really having to be willing to go to some of the deep, dark places and be honest with myself, question God, question everything, and come back to like who I was. And that,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not a bad person. I really am a good person. And you know, when your children are when their brains are different from being born early as well, they don't follow the rules either. Like they don't follow the traditional path of like behaving when you want them to behave or following the timelines of development like you want them to. So again, that invites you to really look at what's really important here. That you
Mm,
can sit still for 5 minutes
yes.
or you know, or that you feel loved and cared about and supported for who you are, you know, or that you can, you know, have these skills and feed yourself, or that you are happy in the present moment. You know, I'm speaking to both of my twins, you know, in that situation of who they were, you know, in their younger years. And really the same came to be true as they moved into teenage years and young adulthood of like, oh, this isn't the picture perfect version of motherhood
Mm,
that I had envisioned, but it's a way
right.
better journey. Oh my goodness, it's a way better journey.
There's so many lessons in there. There's so many nuggets. And I do want to acknowledge that that's not an easy journey.
It's not.
Not comfortable journey. I mean, it's really an acknowledgement to you and your husband that you're still together.
They say that 80% of marriages end in divorce when you have a child that has a significant diagnosis. And I have no doubt about it. Just the fact that we knew each other from our church days. Years
Yes.
back, that we had that like foundation that goes far back. That's the only reason, you know, that I
Yeah.
think we really were able to stay together. But I believe as a family, we've had a mission, and I can really see it now as everybody's going in their different directions now. That, you know, if you can choose to let the mothering journey grow you, it's also all your other family members, you know, your partner, your other children, you know, they can be along for the ride as well. And, you know, the whole idea of simplicity came to me. Amber is nonverbal, but she speaks to us in different ways. So sometimes it's in dreams or hypnotherapy or things like that. That's how the simple theme came.
Did I tell you about the film Spellers?
You did. Yes. I
Okay.
didn't get a chance to look it up since we
Okay.
talked.
Okay.
I
Please.
need to look that up.
Yeah.
That's
So
so awesome.
simplicity.
Yeah,
So deep.
absolutely. And one of the things that Amber said to me was, in keep it simple, mom, like I do. And this is when I was struggling, trying to grow my business. And, you know, we had a lot of debt from medical bills and some of it just not paying attention because I was so overloaded or I was self-sabotaging. And Amber, keep it simple, mom, just like I do. Well, so if you think of like an 18-month-old, you know, like before they're even verbal, you know, oftentimes they're very present. They just pay attention to the simple things, whoever's in front of them. Oh, hi. You know, it's like there's no complexity, there's no past, there's no future. I'm like, oh, she completely embodies this.
Mhm.
And really energetically sort of like allowing myself to pick that up from her. And then
Mhm.
actually turning that into a business strategy that actually worked, made such a difference as well. But you know, I know that without her even communicating, and true, we have to listen to, like, our kids have messages for us. It may not be like I described it. Our kids have messages to tell us, things to teach us, but we have to be willing to listen. And a lot of the things I didn't want to hear, I don't want to hear that. This is, you know,
Yes.
growth, like you said, is uncomfortable. And sometimes it's not the path we would have chosen. And sometimes we have to get further out to be able to look back and say, oh, now I see why. Now think everything makes sense. But when you're in the middle of it, you don't always feel that. And it feels hard and complicated.
It does. It
Mhm.
does. It's what's so one of the things that I appreciate about you is the way that you have allowed this experience to be for your good.
Hmm.
And you're not walking around with bitterness or resentment, which could be part of the journey at times. There's no
It
judgment.
totally was at one point.
Yeah.
And I think it's an important thing to go through, is to feel the feeling. So when your child, your parenting experience, or as your child is developing, and it's not as expected for whatever reason, it wasn't in, the plan. And maybe people question you, or people don't understand, and they don't get them because they don't fit in the box. It's that opportunity to feel the feelings. And that was one thing that I really hadn't no idea how to feel my feelings. Like I
Mm.
didn't even name them, much less feel them. So this is an important thing, I think, that mothering invites you to as well. Because you're going to feel big things when you become a mom, right? It's wired into us. You're going to feel things, even if good things are happening. You worry about bad things that could happen, So really being aware of your feelings, being able to name them, being able to process them in a healthy way really helps you to be the best version of you. And honestly, that's what, led me to be able to have professional success in my business, because of like, I had this kind of fast track personal, get your big girl pants on joy journey. And business, came pretty easy after that, and supported our family well, and being able to take care of Amber well as she moved into adulthood, because I went there, but it really was a daily choice, a daily choice. And you're advocating for your highest good. And sometimes you're just trusting, like, I
Right.
don't know what this looks like. I don't know what the next year looks like. I don't know if, is my kid going to be okay? And, as your kids get older, you think of like, your mind goes to the worst case scenarios. And my son is functioning normally, in adulthood, needs some extra support, but you just go to the worst case scenario. Like, is he going to end up in jail? Or my daughter Amber, like, will something happen to her? Like, she's never had a seizure. What if she has a seizure? There's like infinite amount of uncertainties out there. And when we care about our kids so much, like being able to just be like, yeah, that could happen, and I'll be okay. And they'll be
That
okay.
that is a huge level of trust
Hmm.
in the goodness of life, to trust that your children will be okay no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of the keeping it simple.
Yeah.
Right? So I imagine that one of the thoughts about your children is, who will take care of them if I am not here?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big part of it. And, a big decision that we made in the last year was
Mhm.
moving Amber to long-term care.
Yeah.
That was like, I didn't see that coming.
Mm.
The universe was like going like this. Like all these things were happening, and people and situations, and letting go of what we can't control, or letting go of control. It's a huge part of parenthood too. Like I think about, I've heard of empty nest syndrome, and I'm like, is that this? I'm like, yeah, this is this times 10. Because it's like your 18-month-old leaves the
Yeah.
nest,
Yeah.
right? So it's a huge letting go, but I know it was exactly the right thing, and I'm at peace with it, and she's doing wonderful and amazing. But I think as our kids get older, like learning to let go, and learning how, even with a more functioning twin who's, how you can create codependency if you don't let them
Yes.
fly. You have to let them make mistakes, let them fail. It doesn't mean anything about you. So that's I think been a big part of the parenting lesson too,
Yeah.
is like, don't take things personally.
That's a huge one.
I mean, we know that from the 4 agreements,
Right.
that's
Right.
a huge concept. I remember like, oh yeah, this is a big one. But when you apply it to parenting, you apply it to your kids, like, this isn't personal. This is just a decision they made, or this is just, how it's happening. It's not personal. So there's so many lessons, if we're willing to go there, that can really catapult you into this new level of consciousness, this new level of purpose, this new level of, and your kids will see it happening if you're willing to be open about it, by the way, too. It's pretty cool to see my boys like buy personal development courses with their own money, or read books, or, we listen to all kinds of things in the car. And like, if you can be in on the journey and model it, do it together as a family, even if your partner's not on board, like have these conversations about growth. They're going to pick up on it, even if it doesn't seem like they're acting on it in the moment all the time.
Oh, absolutely. I always say to the families that I work with that your kids are listening and watching all the time. And you spoke to something, because an 18-month-old is in a particular developmental stage.
Yes.
And a lot of that developmental stage is kinesthetic. It's energetic, because they're pre-verbal.
Yes.
So they're going to pick up on the energy that you emanate. So
absolutely. Oh, yes.
right?
Amber can definitely read people's energies. And I think it's because she kind of stayed there. It's like she got there maybe by the time she was like 6 years old, and she really didn't move past that. And I think like it's almost, I'm quite sure she's psychic and can see and hear things and all of that, because she talks to us and everything. So what a gift that is.
Yeah.
And now, where she lives in her home, and we go visit her, often and everything, but she has this whole other community of people now that she's able to influence. Like, why would we not let her fly in a safe, in a place where she is well taken care of? Because honestly, she does more for other people than other people do for her. She really does. Yeah.
It's such a like what you're saying is so many levels and layers to it. I think about my mom had dementia while my daughter was really young, and I was growing I don't know if I was still in school. I think I was beginning to grow my business and trying to have another baby. And and so I remember I was looking for locations because she lived in Florida, and I didn't want her to be by herself. It was just not workable. And so I went to I went to this expert, actually two. One's a family friend and another person that I didn't know. And she sat in front of me and she said to me, "Your mother cannot live with you. You cannot care for your mom. You are not trained for this." Yeah. And I just thought, first of all, it felt like a weight of bricks off my shoulders. Like, I don't have to try and balance. How am I going to like juggle all these things?
Yes.
It gave me permission to allow somebody else to step in there and be there for my mom.
Absolutely.
In the way that you've allowed someone else, because I would think when you have a child who has special needs and you're able to look at them as differently abled, and you moved through all the processes to get where you are, you feel so protective toward them.
Yes.
And you just want to you want to just make sure everything is okay and they have this environment and nothing disturbs it. And then
and there's a bit of ego connected to that too. I found out a little bit of ego and identity, like, okay, right. And it was good and healthy, but to recognize that. But, when you take on things for your kids, or, the percentage of kids that have diagnoses, whether it's from birth or later in life, has gone up significantly, as we know.
I know.
And all of that. So there's going to be people in the audience listening who have a child with a diagnosis. And this whole process of, being at a place of knowing what you can control and acceptance, and when it's time to advocate and be super mom, and when it's time to, to be at peace with what is, it's a whole thing to navigate for sure.
Oh yeah. I know many, many moms who have had to come to terms with, heal the grief, be with the whole experience, and then also advocate and celebrate their children. Exactly. I am so interested in how you were able to translate what you were doing into a 7-figure business. Can you speak?
It was sort of accidental, honestly. It was that wasn't the planned path. It wasn't
a straight path. It
wasn't a straight path. It wasn't a planned path. It wasn't about money in that sense, really, to begin with. It was more, after I had done a good bit of my healing journey, I did the whole therapy thing, and I work with a life coach. Like, I was just learning about this whole world called coaching. This was 2010. And I had been a former teacher, 10 years at home now, right? Like, not made any money, been like full on mom. I had another baby as well. And I was like, I need a purpose for myself. I can't just, be mom, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I professionally wanted to have something. So I found out about this whole world called coaching. I was like, oh, this is perfect for me. I can work from home. I can help people. And it was originally I just wanted to help people. It was really just a sense of purpose. 2 years went by, and it's like, I need to be making more money because we had a lot of debt that was piling up from medical bills, and I did so many alternative therapies and tutors, and I just do. They needed it. We did it. We figured out a way to do it, but I needed it, and they were getting older, and I needed to be making some money. So I started taking my business more seriously, but I overcomplicated it. And it was around that time that I heard that message from Amber. I was like, oh, and being a former teacher, and I taught math, middle school math, like
All right.
I'm used to making the complex simple, like bringing it down to earth and keeping things simple. I was not making my business simple. So once I kind of drew this line in the sand of like, this is my business model. This is what it's going to look like. Scrap all the things the gurus were saying. I'm going to create my own sort of maverick path. That's when things really took off. And so again, like, it sort of happened almost by accident. I just wanted to make enough money to pay for summer camp, to pay for private school, so we could go on vacation, so we could get our debt paid down. But over time, it just became something much bigger. The other thing I realized too is the skills that I had learned over 10 years of being sort of like case manager in addition to mom actually made me a really good business manager. Like, it made me really good at strategy and systems and seeing the bigger picture and making decisions and having a plan. Like, I'd been doing that for Amber for years. So it's like, those were skills I'm really grateful that just translated right over into business that I became fairly competent at pretty quickly. So thank you again, Amber, for the vision that you've helped us create and the legacy, that she has. And I feel blessed that because the women that I'm helping, they're healers, they're doing spiritual work, or they're helping, they're coaches as well. Like, I'm helping them go do their work in the world and get in front of more people. So to me, that feels so good. It's not about me. It's about them getting out there and multiplying the ripple effect. So it started with the mothering journey, but literally every continent except Antarctica, I work with clients on now. So literally all over the world, that ripple effect has been able to be felt. So that simplified and multiply effect.
Well, that speaks to the theme: permission to embody your influence, your power, your inner authority, to be that mama bear, the advocate, and then the metaphor to create a powerful legacy. Like, so Amber is such a gift, right? For not only for you, and your family, but for all of the women that you have subsequently gone out and helped them to create powerful platforms that help other people.
Yes. And their families are expanding and growing as a result of them embodying their influence and legacy. So it's just a beautiful thing. And I know their relationships with their children are different as well. When they feel confident, when they have a sense of purpose, when they're contributing to the family as well. So it's really just a win-win on every front. You don't have to be a business owner for that to be true. But when you feel that sense of clarity and purpose, like, everyone wins.
Absolutely. I love that. Everyone wins. Thank you, Joy. You are a joy. Thank you. Thank you for sharing such a personal story and how you were able to transform yourself so that your experience as a mom supported your family and then supports other people it really is that ripple effect.
Yes.
Thank you. Do you have a gift for the people that are here?
Yes. Well, you can find me online at simplify2multiply.com. So it's simplify multiply.com. So feel free. There's a free gift about daily focus on my website. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram, so feel free to reach out to me. And I run a group actually for moms that have a business and have a child with a diagnosis. So if that's anyone listening, just send me a message on Facebook. I'll see it and connect. And I'm happy to encourage you as well, because I feel like that's part of my next mission too. There's this subset of women who are running a business for the same reason that I did, and it's a unique dynamic. You know, there's extra things to think about, and identity and time management and all of those things. So I'm excited to have that group that I'm doing, that it's completely free. It's a passion project for me.
Thank you for doing that. Thank you for all you do.
Thanks for having me. And this summit, wonderful speakers. I've been able to tune in, and I can't wait to catch the rest of them. Thanks for hosting this.
Well, thank you for being a part of it. And I'm so glad you do the work you do, because it is needed. It is definitely needed, and it's welcomed. And I love the challenge that you're doing. And so I will make sure that everyone is able to connect with you. And I know that we'll speak very soon. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Bye for now.